The void of space stretched endlessly around the human survey vessel Endeavour. Stars glimmered like scattered diamonds on black velvet, silent witnesses to the journeys of countless explorers who had dared to chart the unknown. Captain Reyes stood on the bridge, arms folded, eyes scanning the readings on the central console. The crew moved around efficiently. A well-rehearsed choreography of scientists, engineers, and navigators, each performing their duties with quiet precision. For weeks, the mission had been uneventful, routine scans of abandoned star systems, mapping asteroid belts, and cataloging remnants of long-extinct civilizations. But today, something unusual appeared on the sensors. A faint heat signature flickered in the distance, barely distinguishable from the cold backdrop of space. Lieutenant Soren, monitoring the thermal imaging console, leaned forward. "Captain," he said, voice steady but tinged with curiosity, "we're picking up an anomaly. There's a ship drifting just outside the gravity well of this system. It shouldn't be here according to historical records. This vessel was lost centuries ago." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "How lost?" Soren hesitated. "Hundreds of years. The data we have says it was part of a colonization fleet. It disappeared without a trace during its journey to the outer systems. No signals, no debris. Until now." The captain felt a thrill of anticipation. Humanity had always been defined by its curiosity, its persistence in the face of the unknown. The thought that something from centuries ago might still exist, still carry traces of its creators, was irresistible. "Bring it up on the main viewer," Reyes ordered. On the large holographic display, a shape materialized out of the starfield. It was a ship, though unlike any the crew had seen before. Its hull was battered, corroded, and pockmarked with the scars of time. Panels hung loosely, and streaks of rust ran like veins along its metal surface. Yet, through the decay, smoke was rising from a chimney-like structure on the upper deck, a thin wisp of gray that seemed impossibly fresh against the backdrop of centuries of neglect. The bridge fell silent. Engineers exchanged puzzled glances. "How is that possible?" whispered Dr. Amina Patel, the ship's chief scientist. "The ship should be completely dead. No fuel, no power, nothing. Yet here it is, emitting smoke. Something is active inside." Soren frowned, his fingers flying across the console. "I don't understand." "The thermal readings indicate energy, enough to sustain engines, maybe even life support. But the hull's condition, it shouldn't be possible. It's like it repaired itself." Reyes leaned back in his chair, studying the ship. 1,000 questions swirled in his mind. Who had built it? What kind of technology had allowed it to survive this long? And most importantly, what or who was inside? After a moment of deliberation, Reyes made his decision. "Prepare a boarding team. We're going in. Slowly, cautiously. We don't know what we'll find, but we need to understand this ship before anyone else does." By the time the boarding party assembled, the Endeavour had closed the distance to the drifting ship. The silence of space was absolute, broken only by the quiet hum of the Endeavour's engines. Lieutenant Soren, Engineer Ortega, and Dr. Patel followed Reyes into the shuttle bay, suited and ready. The small transport craft detached smoothly, carrying them toward the decayed vessel. As they approached, the ship grew larger on the view screens. Its size was remarkable, far larger than anything they had expected from records of the lost fleet. Rusted metal glinted dimly under the light of distant stars. The chimney continued to release thin smoke, curling lazily upward as though indifferent to the centuries that had passed. The shuttle docked with a trembling hiss, the docking clamps locking into place with a cautious rigidity. Reyes led the way into the airlock. The door hissed open, revealing the interior, which was darker than expected. Dust motes floated in streaks of artificial light, and the smell of old metal and long-buried machinery hung faintly in the air. "Stay close," Reyes instructed. "We don't know what's going on in here." The corridors were narrow, lined with panels whose labels were long faded. Some were torn or missing entirely. The boarding party moved carefully, boots echoing softly against the metal floor. Here and there, instruments flickered weakly, responding to the faint energy that the ship still emitted. In the engine room, the source of the smoke became clear. A strange, cylindrical mechanism dominated the chamber, surrounded by pipes, wires, and conduits that seemed impossibly complex. It glowed faintly, pulsing with energy as if it were alive. Smoke rose from vents along its surface, carrying the smell of warmth and combustion, but nothing the humans could identify. Dr. Patel crouched to examine a console. "It's repairing itself," she said softly, almost in disbelief. "Look at the material flowing along the conduits. It's like nanotechnology, reconstructing the damaged components. This isn't just a ship, it's a living system." Reyes studied the machinery in silence, a mixture of awe and caution on his face. Humanity had created intelligent machines, but this was different. This was older, wiser, and somehow enduring. Could it be conscious? He asked quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "Perhaps," Dr. Patel replied, "conscious, or at least autonomous. It's making decisions, repairing itself, responding to stimuli. It may have been waiting for someone, or something, to awaken it." As the team moved deeper into the ship, they found more signs of its creators. Wall panels contained etchings, diagrams, and data storage nodes that seemed to record events in a language partially familiar. It was the story of a human expedition long forgotten. A crew lost to the void of space who had left themselves behind, integrated into the very machinery of the ship to survive a solar catastrophe. Lieutenant Soren ran his fingers over the panels. "It's incredible. They didn't just try to survive, they transformed themselves. They became part of the ship. Their consciousness, it might still be here." A faint vibration ran through the floor, making the team pause. The ship seemed to hum, responding to their presence. Smoke from the chimney thickened briefly, spiraling as if in acknowledgement. Reyes felt a shiver run down his spine. They were not merely exploring a relic. They were entering the mind of something that had lived for centuries, something that remembered, something that waited. Hours passed as the team explored, documenting every discovery. The deeper they went, the more the ship revealed. Storage rooms filled with preserved supplies, corridors lined with self-repairing conduits, and living quarters that had been abandoned in haste but now appeared eerily pristine, as if tended by an invisible caretaker. The sense of history was overwhelming, yet it was accompanied by an unmistakable presence. A feeling that the ship was aware of them, guiding their movements, offering glimpses of its secrets while withholding others. Finally, the team reached the central chamber, where the ship's core pulsed like a heartbeat. Smoke rose steadily from the vents, curling toward the ceiling. Reyes stepped closer, feeling warmth radiate from the mechanisms, a gentle yet insistent energy that seemed almost welcoming. Dr. Patel examined the core with reverence. "It's more than an engine," she said. "It's a repository. It contains knowledge, memories, perhaps even consciousness. Whoever created this vessel made sure a part of themselves would survive." Reyes nodded, understanding dawning in his mind. This ship was not just a tool, it was a testament to human endurance, ingenuity, and hope. It had survived centuries alone, waiting for someone to return, to reconnect with the descendants of its creators. As the boarding team prepared to leave the engine room and report back to the Endeavour, a faint hum resonated through the corridors, as if the ship itself was stirring, welcoming them, acknowledging the first human footsteps it had felt in centuries. Reyes felt a surge of pride and wonder. Humanity had found a part of itself lost to time, and in that moment, he realized that exploration was never just about discovering new worlds. It was about discovering the depths of human potential, the spark of life and intelligence that could endure against all odds. The smoke from the chimney continued to rise, thin and steady, a silent signal against the void. It was both a greeting and a promise that humanity's legacy could survive, could awaken, and could continue to shine among the stars. And as the shuttle carried the team back to the Endeavour, the captain knew this was only the beginning. The ship had awoken, But its story, and the story of the humans who had become part of it, was far from over. The moment the boarding team returned to the Endeavour, the atmosphere on the ship changed. Everyone sensed that something important had just happened. Something far larger than a simple discovery. The crew gathered in the main briefing room, waiting anxiously for Captain Reyes and the others to explain what they had found inside the ancient vessel. Reyes stood at the center table, the dim lights reflecting off his calm but thoughtful expression. Dr. Patel connected her datapad to the holographic projector, and images of the decayed ship's interior floated into the air like ghosts from another time. "This ship is not dead," Dr. Patel said, her voice steady but filled with wonder. "It is alive in its own way. Its systems are rebuilding themselves, repairing centuries of damage. Something inside is still functioning, still thinking." Soft murmurs of surprise rippled through the room. Reyes scanned the faces of his crew and spoke firmly. "We are not dealing with a simple machine. This vessel carries the memories, and perhaps even the consciousness, of a long-lost human expedition. We must treat it with respect and caution." After dismissing the meeting, Reyes remained behind for a moment, staring at the hologram of the ancient ship. The thin smoke rising from its chimney seemed even more meaningful now, a sign of life rather than decay. It felt as if the ship had been calling for help. Later that day, Engineer Ortega supervised the transfer of small power cells and communication beacons to the old vessel. "If we can stabilize its outer hull," she explained, "we'll be able to link our systems and understand it better." A small team, including Ortega, Soren, and 2 repair technicians, boarded the decayed ship again. This time the interior seemed slightly brighter, as if the ship had awakened more since their first visit. The soft vibration under their boots had grown stronger. "It's reacting to us," Soren murmured. "It's like it knows we came back." They worked for hours, anchoring beacons, stabilizing cracked panels, and setting delicate instruments along the corridors. Every now and then, a gentle pulse would echo through the walls, almost like a slow breath. Ortega paused several times just to listen. "It doesn't feel dangerous," she said quietly. "More like curious." The crew's movements were slow and careful. None of them wanted to disturb the ship more than necessary. They knew that centuries of silence had shaped it into something unfamiliar. When Ortega approached the central chamber again, the heart of the ship, she noticed something new. The core's glow was brighter, and the smoke from the vents was thicker, rising in smooth spirals rather than random puffs. It was as if the ship was warming up, preparing for something. "Soren," she called, "run a scan on the core." He lifted his handheld scanner. "Energy levels are rising," he said, frowning. "But nothing unstable. It's like it's charging, or communicating." "Communicating with what?" Ortega asked. Before Soren could answer, the chamber lights flickered. The floor vibrated with a low hum. A faint sound, almost like a distant voice, echoed through the walls, so soft that they couldn't tell if it was mechanical or something else. The team froze. "Did you hear that?" one of the technicians whispered. Nobody spoke for a moment. Then, the sound faded, replaced by the familiar soft hum. "We should return to the Endeavour," Ortega said finally. "We need to tell the captain what we heard." As they headed back to the shuttle, the ship seemed to watch them leave. The smoke from the chimney outside continued to rise steadily, signaling both life and mystery. Back on the Endeavour, Reyes listened intently as Ortega described the strange hum and voice-like echo. "It didn't sound like an alarm," Ortega said. "It sounded like a whisper." Dr. Patel considered this silently. If the ship has some form of consciousness stored in its systems, perhaps it attempted contact, but it may not yet understand how. The captain nodded. "We need to learn more. But we must move carefully. If this ship is conscious, we don't want to overwhelm it." He ordered a full communication array to be set up, connecting their systems to the old vessel through a safe, isolated channel. Hours later, after careful adjustments, Dr. Patel initiated the first transmission, a simple greeting encoded in basic electronic pulses. They waited. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the ancient ship responded. A faint pulse of energy traveled through the channel. Rhythmic and deliberate, everyone on the bridge watched in wide-eyed silence as the signals displayed across the console. "It's answering," Soren whispered. "It understood us." Reyes exhaled slowly, feeling a mixture of awe and relief. "Try sending a simple question. Ask, 'Are you functioning?'" "Doctor." Patel sent the message, and for a long moment, there was no reply. Then a new pulse came through, stronger than before. It wasn't a direct answer, but it carried a clear pattern. "It's trying," Patel said. "It knows we are asking, but it doesn't speak our language. It's communicating in patterns." For the next few hours, the team worked tirelessly to decode the patterns. It felt like trying to speak with someone from the farthest past who had forgotten how words worked. Meanwhile, the decayed ship continued to glow brighter, its chimney releasing smoke in steadier streams, as if the awakening process demanded more heat, more motion, more breath. Late in the ship's artificial night cycle, something unexpected occurred. The Endeavor's lights dimmed for a moment, and a soft vibration passed through its hull. Though no alarms were triggered, the crew exchanged worried glances. "Report," Reyes called. "Nothing harmful," Ortega said from the engineering console. "But something connected with us through the communication link." The ancient ship sent a burst of energy. Not enough to damage anything, but enough to touch our systems. "Touch?" Reyes repeated. "Yes. It accessed the surface level only. It didn't try to break into deeper structures. It was more like it wanted to understand us." "Rue." That idea left the entire bridge in thoughtful silence. "It's learning," Dr. Patel said finally, "slowly building a way to talk to us." Over the next few days, communication improved. Patterns became clearer. Some seemed to represent emotion, slow waves indicating calmness, faster pulses showing alertness, gentle rises suggesting curiosity. The ship was indeed conscious, but it spoke in rhythm and energy rather than words. And as the humans understood more, the ship responded with greater confidence. Then, one morning cycle, an unexpected breakthrough happened. Dr. Patel had just begun a new sequence of questions when a sharp, clean signal came across the channel. It was different from every previous response organized. Firm. Intentional. A forming structure. "It's forming a word," Patel gasped. Reyes stepped forward. "What word?" The signal repeated itself, steady and deliberate. "Home." The bridge fell silent. "Home," Patel whispered. "It's saying, home." Reyes felt a surge of emotion he hadn't expected. Is it asking for home? Or saying it wants to go home? Or is it calling us home? Before anyone could answer, the console blinked again. Another signal formed, smoother this time, human. Everyone stared in awe. "It knows what we are," Soren whispered. "It recognizes us." As communication grew more stable, fragments of memory began to emerge through the signals. The ship sent images hazy, broken, but unmistakably human. Faces of people long dead, a large colony ship, a solar flare. Systems failing, a desperate attempt to survive, a merging of minds into the ship's core. Some images were clear enough that Reyes felt chills run down his spine. The lost expedition had chosen to keep their consciousness alive by becoming part of the ship. "They didn't die," Dr. Patel said softly. "They became this." The Endeavor crew watched the hollow images with a mix of awe and sorrow. The ancient ship was not only home to memories, it was the final legacy of those humans who refused to vanish. That same day, something even more extraordinary happened. The decayed ship initiated a docking maneuver very slow, very cautious, drawing itself closer to the Endeavor. It moved like an elderly creature waking from centuries of sleep, trembling but determined. "Is it safe?" Reyes asked. "Yes," Ortega said. "It's not trying to latch onto us. Just approach. Like it wants to be near us." The two ships drifted side by side, ancient metal and modern alloy touching lightly through the vacuum, almost like an embrace across centuries. Later, when Reyes, Patel, and Soren returned to the ancient vessel for another inspection, They found something new waiting inside. The central chamber glowed brighter than ever, and the soft humming sound had changed. It had a rhythm now, a pattern that felt more alive, more aware. "We're here," Reyes said softly, not expecting a reply. But the ship pulsed gently, as if greeting him. Patel stepped forward. "Do you know why we came?" she asked, speaking out loud even though she knew the ship understood only through signals. The chamber lights brightened. "Do you want to go home?" she whispered. The energy pulse that followed was strong, almost emotional. Soren's scanner lit up. "That's a yes. A very strong yes." Reyes felt his heart swell. For centuries, this ship had drifted alone, waiting, watching the silent stars, hoping, in whatever way a machine could hope, that someone would find it. And now that humanity had returned, the ship wanted to follow. Reyes placed his hand on the warm metal of the core housing. "You're not alone anymore," he said quietly. "We'll help you." The chamber responded with a gentle vibration, almost like a sigh of relief. As the team prepared to head back to the Endeavor, the smoke rising from the chimney outside visibly increased, streaming like a banner across the dark sky. The ship was waking fully, fueled by hope, memory, and the presence of the humans it had longed for. When Reyes returned to his vessel, he gave a clear and firm order. "Prepare for a towing sequence. We're bringing our ancestors home." But deep inside, he sensed that the ancient ship intended something else, something far more powerful, something it had not yet revealed. And the smoke from its chimney rose higher than ever, as if preparing for the moment when its forgotten engines would ignite again, after centuries of silence. The shuttle carrying the boarding team returned to the Endeavor, but Captain Reyes could not shake the feeling that the ship they had discovered was more than a relic. It was a witness, a guardian of a long-forgotten past. On the bridge, the crew gathered around the central display, studying the footage and data collected during their exploration. The images of the decayed ship, with smoke rising steadily from its chimney, filled them with awe. Engineers whispered among themselves, unable to stop marveling at the self-repairing mechanisms and the strange pulsing core they had seen. Dr. Patel tapped the console, her fingers moving quickly as she analyzed the readings. "Captain, what we've discovered isn't just a lost vessel. It's a repository of human consciousness. The crew from centuries ago, they didn't die. They integrated themselves into the ship. They became one with it." Lieutenant Soren frowned. "Are you saying their minds are still active? That they're inside that ship?" "Yes," Dr. Patel replied. "It's like a living archive. Their memories, experiences, even their decision-making abilities, they're all stored within the core. And the smoke, it's a kind of signal, maybe even a communication attempt. The ship is alive in its own way." Reyes leaned back, thinking carefully. Humanity had always prided itself on exploration and innovation. But this discovery surpassed anything they had imagined. A ship that could think, learn, repair itself, and carry the consciousness of humans from centuries ago. It was a bridge between past and present, a living monument to resilience and ingenuity. "We need to study it carefully," Reyes said finally. "But we also need to be cautious. We don't know how it will react to continued contact. Keep a safe distance, but maintain sensors. I want a full analysis of its systems before we consider boarding again." The crew worked tirelessly over the next several hours, mapping the ship's energy patterns and monitoring the smoke that continued to rise from the chimney. They noticed subtle changes. The smoke thickened whenever the shuttle approached, and faint vibrations resonated through the hull of the Endeavor, as if the ancient vessel was aware of their presence. Engineer Ortega studied the thermal patterns. "Captain, it's responding. Not aggressively, but it's aware. Every time we scan, the energy readings shift slightly. It's almost intelligent." Dr. Patel nodded. "Exactly. It's learning about us. That core is adaptive. We may be the first humans it has seen since its creators merged with it. This ship may not just remember humanity, it may be trying to understand us, the descendants of its crew." Reyes considered this in silence. The thought was both exhilarating and unsettling. Humanity had left behind this extraordinary creation, And now it was alive, watching, waiting. The centuries that had passed were nothing to it. Time meant little within its systems. And yet, somehow, it had endured, preserving the essence of those who had once commanded it. As the Endeavour hovered in orbit around the ship, the team decided it was time to attempt a more direct connection. Dr. Patel prepared a probe, designed to interface with the ship's systems and transmit controlled data. If we do this carefully, we may be able to communicate, or at least receive information, she explained. We need to be gentle. The ship is intelligent, but it's also fragile in its own way. We can't force it to respond. The probe launched silently. A small, shining object moving through the void to dock with the ancient vessel. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the smoke from the chimney shifted, curling in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Energy readings spiked gently, and lights along the hull flickered in sequence. Dr. Patel's eyes widened. It's responding. It's recognizing the probe. It's almost like it's greeting us. Reyes felt a thrill of awe. Humanity had always sought to reach out into the unknown, to understand what lay beyond their grasp. And now, here in the darkness of space, they were being acknowledged by a creation born of human ingenuity, alive and aware after centuries of silence. The probe sensors began transmitting data back to the Endeavour. The images were astonishing. Archives of the lost crew's daily lives, recordings of their work, maps of the star systems they had charted, and even personal messages intended for loved ones who had long since passed. Each fragment told a story of resilience, hope, and determination. The crew had survived a disaster that had claimed all others, choosing not death, but integration with the ship. They had become guardians of knowledge, silent witnesses to the passage of time. Lieutenant Soren leaned over the console. They're incredible. They preserved themselves, but they also preserved knowledge. The technology, the science, everything they learned. It's all here. Dr. Patel smiled softly. Yes. And now, we're part of that story too. By connecting with the ship, we're bridging the centuries. We're continuing their legacy. As the hours passed, the Endeavour's crew delved deeper into the ship's archives. They discovered detailed logs of exploration missions, scientific experiments, and even philosophical reflections from the long-lost crew. Each entry revealed a people committed to understanding the universe and to preserving humanity's place within it. They had faced insurmountable odds, radiation storms, mechanical failures, and isolation in the endless void, but they had chosen to survive in the only way they could. The more the humans learned, the more they felt a connection across time. The smoke from the chimney, the pulsing core, the responsive lights, it was as if the ship were alive, not just physically, but emotionally. It had waited patiently, enduring centuries of silence, for the moment when someone would come to continue its story. Captain Reyes realized that their mission had changed. They were no longer merely explorers. They were now custodians of a legacy. The ship's intelligence, the memories of its crew, and the technology it preserved were invaluable. Humanity had been given a gift, a chance to learn from its past, and to honor the ingenuity of those who had gone before. But with this discovery came responsibility. The ship was not theirs to control. Any mistake, any attempt to exploit it, could destroy the fragile balance that had kept it alive for centuries. Reyes gathered the senior officers in the command room. We have to treat this ship with respect, he said firmly. It's not a machine to be taken apart. It's a living archive. We need to understand it, learn from it, and protect it. If we do that, it will guide us, and we may gain knowledge that could shape humanity's future. The team agreed, and a careful plan was devised to maintain communication while keeping a safe distance. The probe continued to interface with the ship, transmitting questions and receiving responses in the form of data streams and energy patterns. The smoke from the chimney, once a simple wisp rising into space, now seemed like a language, a subtle signal that marked each new interaction. Days turned into nights aboard the Endeavour. The crew rotated shifts, monitoring the ancient vessel and cataloging every piece of information they received. They marveled at the ingenuity of the lost crew, the foresight that allowed them to survive as part of a ship for centuries, and the persistence that had kept their memory alive. One evening, as Captain Reyes watched the smoke curling into the void, he felt a profound sense of connection. The ship was not just a relic. It was a living reminder of humanity's resilience. Its existence proved that even in the face of unimaginable adversity, human creativity and determination could endure. The lost crew had become part of the cosmos, yet they had left a bridge for future generations. And now, humanity stood on that bridge, ready to continue the journey. Dr. Patel approached him quietly, holding a tablet filled with newly decoded messages. "Captain," she said, her voice tinged with awe, "they're trying to communicate directly, not just through data or patterns, but through ideas, through concepts. They want to share what they learned, to guide us." Reyes nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "Then we listen, we learn, and we make sure their legacy continues. This ship, and the people who became part of it, have waited long enough. It's our turn to carry their knowledge forward." As the Endeavor and the ancient vessel drifted together through the silent expanse of space, the smoke from the chimney rose steadily, a timeless signal of life, memory, and hope. Humanity had reached across the centuries to find a part of itself, and in doing so, had been reminded of what it could achieve. The journey was far from over. But for the first time in centuries, the lost crew's story had found an audience, and the stars seemed a little closer, a little brighter, because of it. And as the crew of the Endeavor prepared for the next stage of their mission, they knew that their lives and the lives of countless future generations would be forever changed by the ship that had waited patiently in the void, smoking silently, for the day when humanity would return. The Endeavor drifted silently in the void, tethered to the ancient vessel by a careful series of magnetic clamps. The decayed ship, once thought to be lost to time, now pulsed with life. Smoke continued to rise from its chimney, curling into the darkness of space like a signal, both welcoming and mysterious. Captain Reyes watched the patterns carefully. Over the past days, the team had learned much about the ship's systems, its archives, and the centuries-old crew whose consciousness had merged with it. Yet, for all their knowledge, there remained a sense of wonder, as if the vessel itself held more secrets than they could ever hope to uncover. Dr. Patel approached him, holding a tablet that displayed streams of newly decoded information. "Captain," she said, voice tinged with excitement, "we've made a breakthrough. The ship is offering guidance, not just historical data. It's trying to teach us. Its knowledge could transform our understanding of space travel, energy systems, and even consciousness itself." Reyes nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "Then we proceed carefully. We need to learn without damaging it. Whatever it has preserved, whatever it has become, is too valuable to risk." The crew spent the next hours interfacing with the vessel, sending carefully structured queries and observing its responses. The smoke from the chimney shifted subtly with each interaction, almost as if the ship were communicating directly, using patterns of vapor as a kind of language. The engineers marveled at the self-repairing mechanisms that pulsed rhythmically within the hull. The vessel had survived centuries, enduring isolation and decay, yet it had maintained itself perfectly. It was the ultimate testament to human ingenuity, a reminder of what could be achieved when knowledge, creativity, and determination were combined. Lieutenant Soren watched the readings on his console, fascination clear in his expression. "It's teaching us things that would take decades to discover on our own," he said. "Energy systems that repair themselves, propulsion methods we haven't even dreamed of, ways to preserve consciousness beyond the limits of biology. It's astonishing." Dr. Patel smiled. "It's not just teaching, it's connecting. It's showing us that the humans who became part of this ship didn't just survive, they thrived, in a way. They preserved their lives, their knowledge, and their curiosity. And now, they're sharing it with us." Reyes leaned against the railing of the observation deck, looking at the decayed ship through the viewport. Its rusted hull seemed fragile, yet the energy radiating from within told a different story. The centuries of isolation, the damage sustained during countless solar storms, and the decay of materials, none of it had stopped this vessel from existing, from being alive. It was more than metal and circuits. It was history, memory, and spirit. "Captain," Dr. Patel said softly, "we have to decide how far we take this. We can integrate some of its technology into our systems, but if we push too hard, we might destabilize it. It's delicate in its own way, despite its strength." Reyes nodded. "We will respect it. We won't take more than it can give. This is a bridge between centuries. We are here to learn, not to exploit." As the Endeavour continued its orbit, the crew began to uncover more personal aspects of the lost crew's lives. The ship's archives revealed recordings of moments of joy and struggle, quiet reflections of explorers facing the vast emptiness of space. One entry showed a family aboard the ship centuries ago, children learning about stars through small observation windows, their laughter echoing faintly through the preserved memory streams. Another showed scientists debating the best way to repair the failing engines, arguing late into the artificial night cycles. These glimpses into human life across centuries brought the crew of the Endeavour closer to their ancestors in ways no history book ever could. Lieutenant Soren shook his head in wonder. "It's like meeting ghosts who never truly left. They're still here, alive in their own way." Dr. Patel placed a hand on his shoulder. "Not ghosts, more like echoes of persistence. They survived by becoming something greater, but they never stopped being human. Their curiosity, their spirit, their desire to continue learning, that's what lives on." Reyes felt a sense of pride swell within him. Humanity had always faced adversity, and here was proof that even when trapped by time and circumstance, human determination endured. The lost crew had become part of the ship, but the essence of who they were, curious, brave, inventive, still breathed through the machinery. And now, centuries later, their story would guide a new generation. The crew decided to attempt a more direct approach to communication. Dr. Patel designed a series of interactive probes capable of exchanging data with the ship in real time, allowing the Endeavour's crew to ask questions and receive responses, not just as streams of information, but as structured insights, almost as if the ship were conversing with them. The first probe was deployed, gliding silently toward the ancient vessel, docking with careful precision. The smoke from the chimney thickened and twisted in ways that suggested excitement or anticipation. Energy readings spiked gently, then stabilized as the probe established a connection. The results were astonishing. The ship shared detailed schematics of its self-repairing systems, simulations of energy efficiency, and even frameworks for preserving consciousness. These insights were unlike anything contemporary humanity had developed. Engineers gasped as they realized that centuries-old technology could outperform even the most advanced systems aboard the Endeavour. The ship was teaching them, guiding them, and ensuring that knowledge would continue to flow from past to present. Dr. Patel's eyes shone with excitement. "It's offering more than knowledge. It's giving us wisdom." The people who became part of this ship understood more than just survival. They understood how to endure, how to thrive, and how to leave a legacy. They've spent centuries perfecting that understanding, and now they're sharing it. Reyes watched, feeling the enormity of the moment. The smoke rising from the chimney was no longer just a signal. It was a symbol of continuity, of life persisting against impossible odds. The ship had survived isolation, decay, and neglect, and now it had chosen to trust humanity again, to teach them what it had preserved. As days turned into weeks, the relationship between the Endeavour and the ancient ship deepened. The crew learned to anticipate the vessel's subtle cues, the way the smoke shifted, how lights pulsed in response to questions, the gentle vibrations that resonated through the hull when certain topics were approached. It became a dialogue of sorts, a meeting across centuries, a connection that transcended time and space. Captain Reyes realized that this interaction was more than scientific discovery. It was a reminder of what humanity could achieve when curiosity, courage, and determination were combined. The lost crew had faced isolation and death, yet they had created something enduring, something that could bridge centuries. And now, humanity had a chance to honor that legacy by learning, growing, and continuing the journey. One evening, as the Endeavour orbited in tandem with the ancient ship, the crew gathered in the observation deck. The smoke from the chimney rose steadily, catching the faint starlight, twisting in intricate patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Reyes spoke quietly, almost to himself. "We are not alone in our history. We are not the first to face the void and overcome it. These people, these humans, who became part of this ship, they waited for us. And now we are here." Dr. Patel nodded, her gaze fixed on the vessel. "And we will not disappoint them. We will learn, we will share, and we will ensure that their efforts were not in vain. Humanity's story continues through them, and now through us." Lieutenant Soren smiled faintly. "It's like standing on the shoulders of giants." They waited, patiently, for someone to continue the journey. And here we are, ready to take the next step. The ship, as if understanding their resolve, seemed to respond. Smoke twisted and curled in more intricate patterns than ever before. Lights pulsed along the hull in gentle sequences. The energy within the vessel stabilized, radiating a sense of harmony and calm. The centuries of waiting, the endless isolation, the patience of countless generations, it all converged in that moment. As if the ship itself was saying, "Welcome home." Captain Reyes felt a surge of hope. Humanity had rediscovered a part of itself, a fragment of its own history preserved and alive. The lost crew's story would not end in the void. It would continue, carried forward by those willing to learn and to honor the past. The decayed ship, once silent and forgotten, had become a beacon, a bridge between generations, a testament to the enduring spirit of human innovation. As preparations began to integrate the ship's knowledge into the Endeavour's systems, the crew realized that this mission had changed everything. They were no longer mere explorers, they were custodians, guardians of a legacy that had survived centuries, a legacy that reminded humanity of its resilience, creativity, and unbreakable spirit. The smoke from the chimney continued to rise, twisting toward the infinite expanse, a silent witness to history, to survival, and to hope. And as the Endeavour prepared to depart, carrying the wisdom of the ancient vessel with it, Captain Reyes knew that humanity's journey had entered a new chapter, one where the past and present met. And the stars held not just the promise of exploration, but the echo of those who had come before, waiting patiently, watching, and guiding. Humanity had reclaimed a part of itself, and the void was no longer empty. The decayed ship, now alive, now awake, would travel among the stars once more, carrying the memory, wisdom, and spirit of those who had waited centuries for this moment. And as the Endeavour moved forward, the crew understood that the story of survival, curiosity, and human ingenuity would continue, shining brightly across time and space, a beacon for generations yet to come.